Yourselves a fantastic morning this morning. I'm so happy to be here with you where sports meets that thing called life. It is AAC kickoff week. That's AAC preview week here with us. I'm ecstatic for that. Happy to have you here on the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. The American taking center stage this week with every single one of their teams going to be on this broadcast. Very excited for that. Very excited to bring this forward with you. So all 11 of their football members will be on the broadcast this week, and I will have Q&As with head coaches and student athletes from all across the American Athletic Conference, with each of the teams getting representation. And, of course, I'll be speaking with the commissioner, who is a mainstay here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Commissioner Mike Aresco. So, a lot of great stuff coming up from the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal here with you on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. You can also find them by going out to 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, or maybe you live out there and maybe it's right around the corner. I know some people that I connect with are right up there in Manlius, so you can go out there today to the Double Decker Cafe and enjoy Cafe Kubal your way. Get your coffee, your tea, your chai, and of course their awesome breakfast sandwiches, the Upstate, my favorite sandwich that they have for lunch, and of course those awesome chocolate chip cookies and chocolate chip banana bread and everything else that they have to offer you. Head out to Cafe Kubal today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. And, of course, you go to their drive-thru location at the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. And all you have to do is let them know to, if you go out to that one, well, actually, that one's like very, very, very connected to so many things. I mean, they're all in great prime locations. The drive-thru location is literally right when you get out of the airport, so you can tell your Uber driver, your taxi driver, mom, dad, whoever it is, be like, hey, listen, we got to stop at this place on the way. It's about 2 minutes outside of the airport, so make sure you head over there today and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. So with that being said, like I've told you, this inside of momcauspopcorn.com is what's popping, is our very special AAC preview week, the American Athletic Conference, getting a preview here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And we're going to be starting off this preview week with the Commissioner, Mike Aresco, and my question to him about something that I had heard at ACC kickoff. So we'll talk about that momentarily. And then after Mike Aresco here in hour number one, we will jump into my one-on-one Q&As with the Navy midshipmen as well as the East Carolina Pirates. And I'll also have the opportunity to speak with the Tulane Green Wave, as well as have a conversation with the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. So very, very much looking forward to who's coming on this show today, and always excited to have these conversations with the American Athletic Conference. Some of these coaches have been around for a very, very long time. So I'm very excited to bring this to you and very much looking forward to it as always. So with that being said, just to let you know who our guests are going to be on the show today. After Mike Aresco, the commissioner, we will have Navy midshipman head coach Ken Niumatalolo, my favorite name in college football. And then we will jump into my conversations with student athletes and members of the U.S. Naval Academy, John Marshall and Bijan Nichols. And then from there, I will have the opportunity to speak with East Carolina, and that'll be head coach Mike Houston, who is working to turn that program in the right direction. And then I'll have Tulane with head coach Willie Fritz will be joining the show, and quarterback Michael Pratt, linebacker Nick Anderson will also be joining the show. And then we'll finish off the beginning of our AAC preview week with Tulsa head coach Philip Montgomery, quarterback Davis Brin, and linebacker Justin Wright. So a lot of great stuff coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And in hour number two, we will have a conversation with Trip Durham's going to be joining the show. Always excited to speak with Trip. And Trip will be joining the show to talk about things inside of his experience with college football in general and with the ACC. So we'll have some crossover here between the AAC and the ACC, as we will be joined by Trip Durham to speak on ACC kickoff and his connection to it, as he is host to some of the events out there. So we'll talk with him and get his thoughts on that and on the experience and on student athletes and coaches, what he takes away from it, and we'll have a nice conversation about the league. So very much looking forward to having Trip Durham on the broadcast where sports meets life here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And you are here with us on Facebook.com as well as YouTube.com and MixLR.com, all /Wake Up Call DT. You're also with us on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage where the MixLR feed is embedded, and you are with us on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. So however you're connected with the show, we thank you so much for tuning in live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And so very much thankful that we have you here with us and excited to get into it. So like I said, Trip Durham of 2D Consulting is going to be joining us in hour number 2. You don't want to miss that conversation, so make sure you hang with us all through the entire broadcast this morning. And wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you're having yourself a great start to your week. If you're not, we're going to make that better. If you are, well, we're going to make that continue to be good. So let's have a great start to the week. Let's have some fun, and let's hop right into the AAC preview week and this conversation that I had the opportunity to have with Mike Aresco. Now, Mike Aresco, the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, like I said, is a mainstay on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. No stranger to the broadcast by any stretch of the imagination, and he's always a pleasure to have on the show. And when I was at ACC Media Day beforehand, there was something that came up, and it was Commissioner Jim Phillips talking about the enterprise and what he means by the enterprise. And so I wanted to get those thoughts from the AAC commissioner. And I said, speaking with Jim Phillips at ACC Media Day, he talked about protecting the enterprise when he was talking about collegiate athletics. And I wanted to know what Mike considered the enterprise, and this is what Mike Aresco had to say about that. So some crossover between the ACC and the AAC inside of Monpaz Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. It's AAC Preview Week, and it starts right now.
Mike, you spoke about the enterprise, and that's something that when I was at ACC kickoff last week, it's the same wording that Jim Phillips uses, the commissioner there. Just what you can say about how you define the enterprise and what we need to do moving forward immediately to preserve college athletics.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's a great question. First of all, college football is an heirloom. College sports are an heirloom. And they've been handed down from generation to generation. There's something special. They developed in this country in connection with universities in a way that maybe they didn't in Europe and other places where things were more professionalized or club sports. So we've got something that's been unique, and it's been unique because it covers every part of the country. And everybody in the country has been involved in it and has been, successful at some time or another. In college football especially, while we've always had the marquee brands and we've always had the great programs, there's been a leveling, and there have been teams that have stepped up, and there have been a lot of great teams that have competed. I think Jim Phillips, and Jim is a good friend, and I thought he made some great remarks at his media day, and he talked about the health of the overall organization. I think the diversity of competition is a good thing. I do lament the fact that we are losing the geographical conferences that once had, it created a certain mix in the country that was fun, and it, it challenged, regions challenged each other. People had their own styles. A while back, the ACC pretty much gobbled up the Big East, which had been essentially a partner. These things happen, and we've moved more toward consolidation. We know why, and we know that the forces that are pummeling college sports require that you make a bigger financial commitment, and that's concerning. People just think that because these TV deals are pretty large, some of them, that the money just keeps flowing. The money's used for so many different things. We provide so many things to our student athletes, including all the Olympic sports we sponsor that basically don't generate virtually any revenue. So, to keep the entire enterprise healthy, I think you have to have a level of competition. And that's why I pointed out in my talk that we have to look at the things we can still look at. we know that there's going to be this consolidation. We know the media is going to focus on maybe a couple of conferences, but it doesn't mean that we can't have a fair system with the CFP where everybody has a real shot, like we've had a shot recently. Maybe there's some other things we can do. We have to keep scholarship limits in a reasonable place. We have to do everything we can. There's no level playing field, there never has been. But we have to do everything we can to keep things competitive. And if we do that, then every nook and cranny of the country will care. You don't want just a few fan bases caring and the rest not caring. Sure, you might get some big ratings for the big games. I don't know what's going to happen. People love college football. But you're going to lose something valuable if 3/4 of college football isn't as relevant as it was. And so that's the challenge we face, Dan. And that's what I think we mean by the enterprise.
These words coming from Mike Aresco, which I always appreciate Mike's time, and I think, Mike so much and the conference so much for this, is, that where we are today. And he said it. It's never been an even playing field. It's never been fair. And people say this to you when you're growing up as a kid. And I had breakfast with one of my teachers from high school yesterday. And she's incredible. Big time shout out to Miss Goulet. One of the best ever. Still to this day, she's touched my life in a positive way. What she did for me back in high school resonates with me today. And she said to me yesterday, life isn't fair. It's not fair. And, and she said life isn't fair, and we were talking about different topics, and she was 100% right. And you know what the funny thing is? Not the funny thing, but what makes me feel good is I can take that now. I could take that now. I could take it and understand it and say, okay, may not agree with it, but it's true. Life isn't fair. There are things in life that are not fair. A lot of times. And it doesn't make sense, right? I have a great life. I'm not saying I don't have a great life. I have a great life. I'm just stating that I know that life isn't fair. And we have to learn from that, right? We have to learn about that and understand that as we step forward in life. And college athletics has not been fair. And do you want to have a college system where, now granted, listen, my predictions, and here's the two ways I look at collegiate athletics right now. My predictions have, a lot of the things that I've been thinking of are leaning toward that way. And I feel like, okay, I feel like I'm reading the tea leaves correctly and I'm understanding, right? So I feel good about my predictions, but I don't, in the world of predictions and in the world of being a broadcaster, I'm like, oh, okay, like I feel like I'm getting it. But as a fan, I don't want that. As a fan, I don't want one dominant conference. As a fan, I don't want two leagues playing up against each other while everybody else sits there and watches. I don't want that. I want every conference to be relevant. I want every conference to have their day. NCAA tournament for men's and women's basketball allows that. It allows that. It allows conferences, it allows the Woffords of the world a chance. The St. Peter's of the world, a chance. VCU, George Mason. It allows those teams a chance. A chance to make, North Texas, to make history. We don't get that in college football. Now, listen, we could have a lot of different ways of looking at this thing. I'm not saying the SEC isn't the best. I've told you it is. I'm not saying that, and I've never shied away from that. I never said the SEC wasn't the best. I might have said the ACC in certain years was pushing with them, and proven so, because Clemson beat Alabama. What I'm saying is, the SEC is by far the best in college football. Not in basketball, but in college football. That doesn't mean that UCF and Cincinnati and Houston haven't all... Look at what's happening. Look at those three teams that didn't get respect nationally. Where are they going? They're going to the Big 12. They're jumping, right? They're running to the Big 12. Why are they going to the Big 12? Oh, because we think it'll be better for us. Is it going to be better for you? Right now, looking at the Big 12, You know what I mean? But they didn't get respect for a decade, right? For as long as they've been in the American Athletic Conference, they haven't gotten true respect nationally, but now everybody loves that they're going to the Big 12. I shouldn't say everybody. Some of the people that may have not respected them now all of a sudden have given them worth. And I talked to Mike Aresco about that, how crazy that is. To say, well, this team is worth nothing, this institution is garbage, and this conference is crap. Oh, they're going to the Big 12. Oh my God. They're the greatest. They're the best. They're an uplifting. How stupid people sound, right? I call it the revolving door, right? You go in the door saying something negative and you come out saying something positive about the same thing, and you're like, but we all know that you're in the same, like, it's you caught in this tunnel. You're here, right? How'd you go in thinking that you come out? Now, does that mean that people can't learn? No, it doesn't mean people can't learn. But there's irony and stupidity and ignorance and disrespect that come with the notion that the American Athletic doesn't bring it. Because if they didn't bring it, then why do the Power Five, quote unquote, steal the coaches almost every single year from the American Athletic Conference? They watch these coaches, they try to take these coaches. They watch the players now, they try to take the players. Transfer portal makes it easier. Oh, this guy's playing real. I mean, would Ed Oliver have stayed in Houston if the transfer portal was there? You know what I mean? And we see things like that. So what I need to share about this conference is that if you're going to respect these teams that are going to the Big 12, then you need to respect the American Athletic, because those teams didn't have relevancy. Cincinnati was not relevant in the American Athletic Conference for a while in football. UCF, I didn't hear anybody talk about UCF until what they did while in the American Athletic Conference for football. Houston, yeah, they might have had a day here, there, and whatever, but I didn't hear anything threatening about Houston. I watched them in the American. So respect the conference, respect the enterprise, respect the fact that we need the American, we need the Sun Belt, we need the ACC, we need the Pac-12, the Big 12, we need Mountain West, MAC. We need these conferences to endure. We need them to. Or else, what are we watching? The SEC versus the Big Ten? What if your school's not in it? What if your school didn't make it? What if your school didn't get a phone call? Then what? What's going to happen? Are you going to just start becoming an Alabama fan because your team's not on television anymore? So there needs to be, and remember, folks, these sports bring money to these institutions. These institutions house people. These teachers, administration, students, and student athletes, as well as everybody that works the grounds and the janitors and everybody that's involved, they need these institutions so they have somewhere to go to school and get an education, and for their education to matter and their degree to matter. And then that community that school is within needs that school to boost their economy. So if you continue to take and give to just a few, you're not affecting the ACC. You're affecting every institution within the conference, plus all of the people within those schools, plus all the families connected to that, plus all the alumni, plus all the future students and student athletes and teachers and administration and groundskeepers and whatnot, and the community, right? Let's say the ACC is rendered unimportant, and this remodeling of the college football playoff pushes the ACC out. That affects Syracuse, but it affects everybody at Syracuse, and it affects the community, which affects me in the community. So this is something that has to be looked at and has to be understood, that it's not just as simple as, oh, wow, the Big Ten's really, the Big Ten's really getting whatever they want. Oh, wow, the SEC's really getting this, that, and whatever. That's all well and good, but you have to take care of this model in order to preserve universities. Because if universities are relegated to a nothing tournament or to be pushed outside of something and they have nothing to fight for, then that can funnel everybody in one direction away from them. And if their enrollment goes down and the money goes down, then maybe some sports get taken away. Maybe some curriculum pieces, maybe some majors and minors get taken away. Maybe the school closes a building or two. Maybe they close altogether. See, collegiate athletics brings a lot of money in. And schools, whether or not they want to admit it, rely on that. They rely on that income. Especially at the D1 level. Hello? So, this is a model that has to work in making sure that there is value everywhere. Because there is value, right? But the perceived value. Navy, ECU, Tulsa, Tulane that we're going to talk with today, they all have value. But what's the perceived value, right? Because the perceived value, depending on what they do with conference realignment, continuing, and the college football playoff, if you take so much from these schools, you're going to be taking from their student body, their teachers, their administration, and their communities. Everyone deserves a fair shot. I'm a firm believer in that. Who wouldn't be? What type of monster doesn't believe in fair shots for all? Equality. Isn't that what we're supposed to be about? Isn't that what we're supposed to fight for in every nook and cranny of this world? Equality. Equality. Okay? Well, Dan, this team's better than that team. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying Alabama's not better than East Carolina right now. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, does East Carolina have a fair shot? Because if you have a fair shot in life and it's up to you, that's how it should be. Everyone should have a fair shot, and then it's up to your personal responsibility, your work ethic, what you put into it. That's how it should be. It should be that way. Everyone has the runway, but you have to learn how to pilot that plane. You got to be able to take off, you got to be able to fly, and you got to be able to land. But if you don't have a runway, then like the American Athletic Conference, you start to build your own, right? Like the Sun Belt, you start to build your own. But then you get to a certain point where you say, hey, we need air traffic control to talk with us here. We need to have these conversations. We built the runway, but we still need air traffic control to tell us if we can land or take off, because we've gotten busy here and we're flying the friendly skies and we need to make sure we're safe. Everybody needs a home, or else what's the point of having the conferences and what's the point of having these institutions? And you can't just turn around and dissolve everything and not care about the countless lives that will affect. It's important to know that. It's important to know that fairness is not just something we should say to sound cute or pretend to be equal. Fairness has to be a reality, or eventually your reality will become very grim. You really want to watch the SEC versus the Big Ten for the rest of your life? That's all you want to watch? So, we shall see what we shall see. But fairness, it's not just an idea. It needs to be implemented. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll start off with the teams here. And today, inside of AAC Preview Week, we will have Navy, East Carolina, Tulane, and Tulsa all joining the broadcast. Ken Niumatalolo, the head coach of the Navy Midshipmen, will join me right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, where sports meets life.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, it is AAC preview week for the American Athletic Conference, and I'm so excited to be here with you where sports meets life inside of these Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, as well as on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building. You can't miss it. You literally go into Manlius, and where all roads converge to enter into Manlius, you will see Cafe Kubal's giant brown striped building. Looks like coffee being poured and you'll see it right there with their expanded parking lot, double-decker cafe. Jump in there today, and of course go out to the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners and see Cafe Kubal in their amazing drive-through location in North Syracuse. So, with that being said, we're continuing AAC Preview Week inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. You heard from Mike Aresco, the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, and now it's time to jump into the teams. We'll start things off here in our AAC Preview Week as we are getting closer and closer to kickoff, which I'm ecstatic about. We have Navy that will start things off in our AAC Preview Week, and we'll start things with head coach Ken Niumatalolo.
And Coach, how are you?
Dan, how you doing?
Doing well. To take a look at the fact that, in realignment right now, a lot of people are talking about Notre Dame coming out of independence and going into a conference. Navy did that after so many decades. Looking back on it, hindsight 2020, what can you say about leaving independence to become part of this American Athletic Conference and what it's done for Navy, in your opinion?
Well, I've loved being in this conference. Super competitive. I think our players, everybody in our program has enjoyed being in such a competitive league. I mean, you've seen the winner of our league has always gone to a New Year's Six Bowl. I see some of the rankings from this year, which, deservedly so is the way things are. But, the top two teams, I mean, we were one score losses to both of them. And, and we beat UCF last year. So to me, it just shows you in this league, anybody can win. It's a tough league. But I thought us coming into this league, that was great for our program. And obviously the way the realignment's going, I think all of us we'll all see how it all settles down and settles out. But I think it was great for our league.
And a quick follow-up for you, just why it's made so much sense to be a part of Navy and to continue to be here. You've had other opportunities and other phone calls. You and I have spoken about it before, but you've stayed true to Navy and kind of Grandpa Ken here with the tenure that you have inside of the American Athletic Conference.
Well, the grass isn't always greener. There have been 36 head coaching changes in our league since I've been in this league. And so very, very fortunate to be here. I coach great young men. I love the Naval Academy. I love Annapolis. I mean, I don't want to leave. I mean, just you coach at a great place. You coach great people. You love coming to work every day. The United States Naval Academy in the Navy Football Brotherhood is a special place. And I think sometimes in this profession, the money is so lucrative that sometimes you can start chasing the wrong things, and I've just been very fortunate to be here.
And coming from Ken Niumatalolo saying, hey, listen, sometimes you chase that money. And that could be a dangerous road to go down. I'll never forget what Dominique Rhodes said to me. Dominique Rhodes, who won a Super Bowl with the Colts, Peyton Manning, and the crew there, Marvin Harrison. And he said to me, if you chase your dreams, the money will chase you and eventually catch up to you. But if you chase the money, it'll chase you forever. Or you'll chase it forever. If you chase your dreams, the money will eventually chase you. If you chase the money, you'll chase the money forever. And you'll never catch it. Right? Because if you chase after the money, you're going to eventually lose something. You're going to lose yourself. There's a reason why there's no money in heaven. There's a reason. But Navy, after 100 years, going back to the point by Ken Niumatalolo, he was a part of that transition, right? Of independence. Army's still independent. Notre Dame's still independent. But to see Navy join a conference was huge for the American in its institution. As we talk about, could we ever see Notre Dame doing it? Well, it was over 100 years, and we saw Navy do it. And I look forward to what Navy's going to continue to bring to the table with Ken Niumatalolo and the crew. Coming up, speaking of the crew, at Navy, we have safety John Marshall and kicker Bijan Nichols. I had an opportunity to speak with them, and they join us next in AAC Preview Week.
Is for you both. I appreciate you being here. Just, what it means from Navy. We've already heard about the difference that is obviously there in different ways when it comes to the transfer portal, but you're dealing with a difference all the time as students, athletes, and serving the country, and how you feel that weight on your shoulders, and how life at Navy is obviously well beyond football.
I think that what we have here is just a great way to set us up. We're serving the greatest country in the world. We're able to do it for free. Great education. You're serving with even better men and women to the right and left of you. I think the days do get long, and it's a grueling process, but I think it's all worth it in the end, just to be able to say that you graduated from a place like this, played football in a great conference as the AAC, played against great teams, and then even tradition like the Army-Navy game.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. I think all around there's no better experience. There's a great sense of duty that I feel every day walking around in our halls and in the school, just seeing the people next to me and the people that I look up to who've gone here. It's really inspiring, and that really ties over well into football and how close we feel, even within such a close place as the Naval Academy. I think Navy football is even closer than that. And that's something that a lot of other teams don't have in college football.
Well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, because my grandfather and great uncle both served. So I do appreciate your service.
Thanks.
So that's Chuck Sullivan on the screen there of the American Athletic Conference. Big shout out to Chuck and all the work that he does. But, I wanted to thank them for their service and make a note once again. My grandfather, my Pop Cavino, my mom's dad, as well as my great uncle Carmen, who's still alive, rocking and rolling. Uncle C, I think he just turned 95. So I love you, Uncle Carmen. Love you, Grandpa, in heaven. Very honored to have the family that I have. So speaking with Navy to me always holds a very significant place in my heart that goes well beyond football. So thank you to the Navy midshipmen for being a part of this AAC preview. Navy, and taking a look at what they have going on this season for Navy football, and obviously being a part of this conference, but still keeping, some of those rivalry games, right? Those games we're used to alive. Nothing like the Army-Navy game. It's usually around the time that I go and get my Christmas tree. It always ended up being in that way. It's around my grandma's birthday, December 15th. So this year it's on December 10th at 3 p.m. on CBS, and they'll be at Army this time around. So they'll be at West Point. Very excited. Definitely looking forward to that game. They got Notre Dame on November 12th, another game that we're used to seeing. They have Air Force on October 1st, which is at noon on CBS, and they'll be on the road for that one. They'll play Delaware as well within all of this, and then they have their conference matchups, and they'll have Memphis the second week of the season. So looking forward to Navy, definitely hoping big things for it. I know that, they've had to change and look at some different things here and, get different coordinators in and have some adversity, which everybody goes through. But we look at Kenya Matulolo, who's been with Navy since 2007, and then they came into the American Athletic Conference later on here after he had a few seasons in. 2007, he only coached one game at the end in the shift from Paul Johnson, so he went 0-1 in the bowl game. 8-5, 10-4, 9-4, 5-7, 8-5, 9-4, 8-5, 11-2, 9-5, 7-6, 3-10, 11-2, 3-7, 4-8. So the majority of the time, he's on the winning side of things. And as they move forward here with the triple option in a very unique offensive style in the way that they play the game, we'll see if they could bounce back on the right side of things. And I hope they do. I really hope they do, to bring value to everything that is going on inside of the American Athletic Conference. A strong Navy definitely makes the conference better, so I'm looking forward to see what they have coming up next. Speaking of strength, we're looking at the fact that, there's a team inside of the American Athletic Conference that has gotten stronger, thankfully, and it's been a little while. Now, they had success under Ruffin McNeil, but apparently they thought it wasn't enough, and they let Ruffin McNeil go, which I was never a fan of in any way, shape, or form. And now the ECU Pirates, after having Scotty Montgomery in there. Now they have moved forward. They have Mike Houston in the mix, and Mike Houston is working to get this team on the winning side of things, which I can definitely respect here. And I'm hoping really big things for Mike Houston as he has had his time at East Carolina, went 4-8, 3-6, and last year 7-5, got them on the winning side of things. They were supposed to have a bowl game against Boston College that got canceled, so we didn't get to see if they could go 8-5 last season. But as they move forward, they are increasing. 7 wins in his first 2 seasons, and then 7 wins total last season alone. Mike Houston joined me for a couple pieces here inside of the AAC preview week. So as we get set for Mike Houston, we want to thank Navy one more time and get ourselves set and ready to go with the East Carolina Pirates and head coach Mike Houston stepping into year number 4.
Looking at the fact that this conference has obviously been affected by realignment multiple times and will be affected after this season with 3 going out and 6 coming in. How do you look at college football kind of as a whole, and your thoughts on having to obviously coach against the teams that and then having to learn these teams that are going to be coming in next year?
Well, I think that everybody is curious to see how the next couple of years are going to go. College football is changing. It's changing pretty quick. I think with, what the SEC and the Big Ten are doing, it's going to have a trickle-down effect on all the other conferences. The American Conference has been a highly competitive conference, ever since its start, and we're excited to be a part of it. Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston have been great programs in this conference. Them departing, they'll go on and try to do the same thing in the Big 12, but we'll have 6 schools coming in, so the conference is going to change. At the end of the day, our focus is going to be purely on East Carolina. I think we have a chance, just like I thought when I came here in 2019, we have a chance to establish ourselves as one of the top programs in the country. I think we've got a great fan base. We've got a great school to recruit to. The administration here, both on campus and within the athletic department, is committed to football. So we're excited about the future of Pirate football.
Coming here from Mike Houston and giving his thoughts there, right? About the fact that he, in his belief, the American Athletic Conference has been consistently competitive, and that with the 6 coming in, he believes it'll continue to be competitive, and with the 3 going out, respecting the fact that they've been competitive, Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF inside of the American, they have been competitive, and now they'll try to be competitive in the Big 12. And Mike Houston has helped this team to be competitive themselves, East Carolina. Like I said, I'm excited because, again, it's like people don't fully understand the American if you're just following. See, this is the thing. As a member of the media, I never ask you to follow me blindly. I ask you to make your own decisions and work with me. And I never ask you to just follow me blindly, because I think there are people that do. And sadly, there's a lot of people that ingest this information without even fact checking it, right? Without even understanding it. Again, so many people can be so happy about Cincinnati and UCF and Houston joining the Big 12, but did they give them any credit when they were in the American? Right? And what are some people saying? Well, obviously these teams are going to win the American because they're coming to the Big 12. Well, I'm sorry. The Big 12 has nothing to do with their success at all. They're not a part of it. Not yet. So this competitiveness, people overlook East Carolina and the fact that they have been successful. And that they've had a great motivator in Ruffin McNeil, and now they have a very strong coach in Mike Houston that has come in to build that success. Build upon that, grow upon that, move forward. So, and like I said, a strong Navy team, that improves it. There's a lot of things inside of the American Athletic Conference that people don't look to until it's like literally forced in front of them, like Cincinnati or UCF. And that's unfortunate because there's definitely a lot of competition inside of this conference. And I know it because I cover it. I know that there was a day where South Florida was strong. I know that there has been moments for ECU, and I love the fact that they're finding their way back again, because I really hope they would under Mike Houston. I wanted them to do it under Scotty. I wanted them to keep doing it under Ruffin. I support these wonderful coaches. I know that Willie Fritz, when he came in, people were telling me, hey, this guy's won everywhere. Hey, Willie Fritz has won everywhere. Hey, he's won everywhere, Dan. Did you know he's won everywhere he's gone? I kept hearing that. And now he's winning in Tulane. Tulsa, Philip Montgomery. How many times do they have to push those Oklahoma teams that have been a part of the Big 12 without you going, oh, yeah, they're pretty good? So this conference is more than just the teams that are leaving it. And it says something about this conference that there's been a rotation of teams that have gotten to the top. The Houstons, the Temples, the Navies, the UCFs, the Memphises, the Cincinnatis, the Houstons. It has been a movement. The Tulsas. Many of these teams have gotten to play in the championship game. It says something about the level of competition within this conference. And when this conference goes and plays bowl games and they go and play non-conference games and they beat those teams, they deserve the credit. Well, Dan, they're competitive with each other, but are they competitive with anybody else? I don't know. Does UCLA, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Auburn, Baylor, hello? So you know what I mean? This conference, NC State, been a strong team. This conference has brought it. And I respect the heck out of them for the work that they've done. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and we'll come back with our other two teams that will join us for this jump off to AAC Preview Week. Check the tape, folks. The respect is there. From me, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's been there. But to the country, don't just follow your talking head. Actually look at what they're saying. I don't tell people to follow me blindly, but I'm also not going to lie to you. As Mike Aresco, the commissioner of the American, always says, you have followed us and you've given us credit, but you haven't just done it to do it. You've done it because there's something to back it up. Thank you for giving us credit. Thank you for giving us a platform, but for doing it genuinely and for doing it because we've given you a reason. You didn't just tell people we're a good conference because you felt like doing it. You told people we're a good conference and we can back that up. And Tulane and Tulsa, they've been backing that up. And even in games that they didn't win, you look at these games and go, how to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State that are playing Tulane and Tulsa, they had to give everything they could. Sometimes playing at home just to get out of there alive. And people respect Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So get to know the teams and get to know the situation before you make any assumption of it. Because as my father always told me, an assumption makes a blank out of you and me. An $, $. Remember that. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll come back with Tulane and Tulsa in the AAC Preview Week right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Hanging out with you where sports meets life. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, inside of their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, the Manlius Welcome Center where all roads converge into Manlius. And you can also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse at their drive-through location. So fill your cup up right today and get yourself some Cafe Kubal. So, with that being said, very happy to be here with you where sports meets life. And people know I don't just promote to promote. I put my money where my mouth is. Love Cafe Kubal. I've been to all of their locations, and I love them all for their uniqueness that they have. And it's the only place that I get my chai, because I'm a chai guy, and I'm all about that life. So, very much appreciate that. With that being said, we're continuing inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', our AAC preview week. And we started with Navy. We had East Carolina most recently here. And it's now time for us to jump into the Tulane Green Wave. And I will start things off with Tulane in coverage of the American Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the AAC, in my conversation with Willie Fritz, the head coach of the team, to speak on realignment. Now, Willie Fritz, I'll have more to say about him after you hear from him. But after coaching at Georgia Southern, going 9-3 and 9-4, he has been in Tulane as their head coach since 2016. So seeing him here for the last 6 seasons as he steps forward into year number 7. Very excited to have him here with us. And he will start things off with realignment and the fact that we're seeing it throughout the collegiate athletic world. But the American Athletics is going to see 3 go out and 6 come in. And this is what he had to say.
Always good to talk with you. I know that conference realignment is something that, has happened here for many, many years. But over the past decade, we've seen 2 major moments, and we're living in one of those right now. Just what you could say about how you view conference realignment and the 3 schools that are within the American, obviously UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati will be on their way out after the season, and then 6 will be coming in, and how you feel about that shift from a coaching perspective.
Well, I think we've got a really top-notch league. We talk about being part of the Power Six, but I really believe that's true. And I think these teams that we're adding to the conference are going to bring big-time, value as well. And a lot of them are strong academic institutions like Tulane. Also, a lot of them are within our footprint, not too far away. Our fans will be able to travel. Their fans will be able to travel. So I think we've really done a good job with the additions to our conference.
That's Willie Fritz talking about the teams that are coming in, right? And the teams now, Tulane is in Louisiana and New Orleans, and the teams coming in, you have UNC Charlotte, you have UAB, Alabama Birmingham, so now there'll be an Alabama part of the American Athletic Conference footprint, and we will also see UTSA as they spread more into Texas. We'll see North Texas, we'll see Rice, and then we'll see Florida Atlantic, FAU. So with UCF going out, you have FAU coming in. I continue my conversation with Willie Fritz, and here's the rest of the Tulane Green Wave head coach.
Looking at the fact that you went to 3 bowl games, in 3 years, 2-1 in those bowl games before what happened last season, where is Tulane in your opinion as far as that plan that you implemented years ago? And what can you say about the foundation that's been built and where this team is currently at, knowing that you've had 3 bowl games in the last 4 years?
Well, we want to get back to that level at the bare minimum, but we really feel like we can compete for conference championships. That's our goal, and that's what the guys are working towards day in and day out. As I said before, I think we got great culture. We've lost very few guys. I really like the environment that these guys have created with the team. The coaches have helped create with the team as well, and we like our schedule. We got in a little bit of a tailspin and had a hard time coming out of it last year. But one thing I was proud of is the way our guys competed from the beginning of the season till the end of the season. I really had next to zero problems. Sometimes when the wheels fall off, they go in all different directions, and you start having problems. And we didn't have that. Our guys, kept the high character standards that we want to have here at all times. But certainly we were disappointed in our record. And we want to compete for a conference championship. We really believe that we can do that.
That coming here once again from Willie Fritz, and he said, last season he felt like the wheels started to fall off at the end, and the team ended up ending the season at 2-10, but continued to move on, continue to find that, and having next to zero problems. I thought that was huge that he said that. Listen, my team struggled. We started to, have that car not get down that road and those wheels fall off and different things happening, yet I had next to zero problems on my team. It says a lot about the team staying together, right? Now, mind you, Memphis last year, they played a very close game against Memphis, 33-28. They lost to Tulsa in overtime. They lost at UCF by 4 points. So not all these games were total blowouts. Now, they had some tough games here, but they also had some good games as well. And they started off the season on the road at number 2 ranked in the country, Oklahoma, and lost 40-35. So just like with Philip Montgomery of Tulsa, who you're going to hear from in a few minutes, the record doesn't show where Tulane was and what they've done and how they bookended their season by playing tough on the road at Oklahoma and at Memphis. It's just a few plays, right? A few moments that you have to shore up and get ready for the upcoming season. Now, before last season, they went to 3 straight bowl games. 7-6, 7-6, and 6-6. Won the Cure Bowl, won the Armed Forces Bowl, and lost in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl in that order as we get set here for what's to come. And 2 guys are coming back for Tulane to try and get on the right side of things, and that is who you're going to hear from next. And those are coming from Tulane. They're student athletes. You'll hear from quarterback Michael Pratt and linebacker Nick Anderson as we continue the AAC preview week.
We both just coming off of a season that win-loss record-wise in the column doesn't look adequately to what you guys were trying to do last year, obviously. So how do you come off of a season like that? And what were some of the things that you can build upon last year that maybe we can't see simply by looking at the record?
First and foremost, just like Coach Fritz said, just being able to turn the page and look forward to this upcoming season, look forward to this preseason camp and the first game versus UMass. One of the things that has really been a blessing for our team is that we've brought 98% of the guys back, and it was just shows our diligence, just our attitude about last season, knowing that we don't want to, move on from this program and, go out the way that we did last year. Guys just had different attitudes in this offseason, just been working harder, holding themselves more accountable. I feel like the relationships from player to coach are extremely, extremely well, probably the best since I've been here. And we've just been really putting our heads down and going to work on a day-to-day basis, focusing on building each other up and being here for each other, because when we was 2-10, the only people that we could count on was ourselves. And that's just one of the things that's really built us as a program, is just depending on each other on a day-in and day-out basis.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Nick said. I think the morale in the locker room, the overall attitude within the players and the coaches has completely changed. think the accountability has gone up dramatically. I think we've had at least half the guys really step up and take some leadership roles and hold people accountable, like I said. And I really don't think that our record last year dictated the type of team we were. I think week one, we showed what we were capable of against Oklahoma. And I think we only had 3 games that I would say we really lost those games. I think majority of the other games were within a touchdown. Those little things that we're working on this offseason through spring, summer, the attitude changes, coaching changes are really going to push forward and help us this year.
That coming from quarterback Michael Pratt and linebacker Nick Anderson of Tulane, and saying that not only did Willie Fritz, the head coach, say, I didn't have a lot of problems as the team continued to lose games later on in the season and the wheels started to fall off. I didn't have issues with my team. And now hearing from Nick Anderson saying the majority of the team's coming back. So not only is the head coach saying, I'm not having issues with the guys are coming back. They're not transferring out. They're not running away from the program. They're not saying, oh my gosh, there's a dumpster fire, right? Because when you see a mass exodus, it says a lot about the president, the CEO, the head coach, the boss, right? Because if you're running away, then you're, and it's in droves, then you're thinking, okay, there's something going on with this program. Well, these guys came back to prove that they're better than the record shows. I think that says a lot about Willie Fritz. I think it says a lot about the Tulane Green Wave. And I appreciate what they had to say here in this AAC preview week. We continue the conversation in the AAC preview week by jumping to our next team, the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. And no stranger to the broadcast by any stretch of the imagination, Philip Montgomery joins me for a few questions here. Here is the head coach of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, their head coach since 2015, who steps into year number 8 this season.
Always good to talk with you. Taking a look at where you are in 7 seasons as you head into the 8th one here at Tulsa, and switching things around to that positive side and winning on the field. You and I talked about what was getting built in those seasons where the win-loss column didn't show it. How are you seeing that come through, and just what you can say about the fruitfulness of your labor, so to speak?
Well, yeah, we had some guys that were growing and learning, and we understood where we were at and what we were doing and what we were trying to build. That being said, we've got a lot of those guys still on this team that has gone through the battles, and you've been on the field with in tough games. You know how they're going to react. You know how they're going to respond. I think one of the things that has been a staple of our program is we're going to play for a full 60 minutes. Every second of it, we're going to get the best that we got. I think that is a signature of who we are and who we will continue to be, and our guys really relish in that part of it.
You've been in this league, as I said before, for 7 going into 8 seasons with Tulsa. So we've gotten to obviously see some change, and change will happen again with Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF going out, 6 coming in. How do you look at realignment and just what you can say about building those bridges and those relationships within conference, and then having those, obviously not wanting them to diminish, but knowing that they will change like the commissioner spoke about?
Well, I think number one, we've built this conference together, and I think the respect that our conference has gained throughout the nation is tremendous, and that has happened through a lot of hard work and us playing some tough schedules and going on the road and playing some tough games as a conference group, and then performing well in those. And then as you got into conference, you saw the levels just every year continuing to step up. You look at the number of draft picks that have happened out of our league. You look at the coaches that have been in our league. You've got some really exceptional coaches leading these groups, but these athletes that are in our conference, they are tough, and they are continuing to grow, and the talent level here is at an all-time high. As we welcome these new teams in, I'm excited about that. It's gonna bring some more regional matchups to it. It's gonna bring some more fanfare to it, I believe. I think the competition level is going to stay at a really high spot, and I know I am looking forward to those opportunities. But, obviously right now we've got the ones that we've got, and looking forward to this season.
That coming from the head coach of Tulsa, Philip Montgomery. And mind you, like I said, playing in those games, playing them close, and not getting credit because everybody looks at the win-loss column and, oh, okay, yeah, well, they lost to the Big 12. Makes sense, blah, blah, blah. They went to Oklahoma State on the road at Oklahoma State, lost 16-7 in 2020. In 2021, they came back again on the road at Oklahoma State, 28-23. Those games that they're playing in and they're pushing in. And this year they have Ole Miss, speaking of Tulsa. So I look at those games and I look at that because, you know, if the American and the teams in the American really were pushovers, number one, they wouldn't be winning some of these games. And number two, they wouldn't be pushing Oklahoma State back-to-back years at Oklahoma State to barely get by. They struggled to score offensively in 2020. In 2021, they scored. They lost by less than a touchdown. And Davis Brin was their quarterback. And Justin Wright, a linebacker on the team. And they're both here to tell you their thoughts.
First with Davis, Coach just said that he spoke on you relaxing. How would you describe how you can do that as a quarterback on the field? And then kind of the juxtaposition of that, Justin, you're known to be a psycho. How would you describe that?
Yeah, relaxing is going to be big for me also. I mean, I feel very comfortable where I'm at right now. Just having a little bit more patience, letting receivers get open and not fire away too quick. So that's definitely going to help me be successful this year.
For me, I'm a completely different person off the field, or off and on the field. So just keep being aggressive, playing fast, physical, doing what I've always been doing, I guess, and trying to incorporate that along to my other defensive players with me.
Do you like the nickname? Is it okay with you that that's the one that you
get? Yeah. I've had that since Pop Warner. It stuck. Definitely stuck.
Being called a psycho and liking it. I can't say I've been in a lot of conversations where I've heard somebody called a psycho and they're like, yeah, that's okay with me. So good things for Justin. I mean, it's good on the football field to be called a psycho. I'll tell you that. I understand that very much so. Philip Montgomery trying to keep this team rolling in the right direction. I've been talking to him for seasons here about the fact that the record wasn't showing exactly who Tulsa is and what they're doing and how they're building and how they're growing. 2-10, 3-9, 4-8, and now 6-3, 7-6, and winning the Myrtle Beach Bowl most recently here. And like I said, pushing teams like Oklahoma State on the road at Oklahoma State in back-to-back seasons, knocking on that door. So don't count a team like Tulsa out. Everybody looks at wins and losses, but do you look at these games? Do you look at how it ends? I mean, look at Cincinnati. They make the college football playoff the year after Georgia beats them in a field goal in the last two possessions of the game. And that Georgia team just won a national championship with a bunch of the same players and the same coach. So, it's important for you to understand, the level of competition and what these teams are bringing forward in the American Athletic Conference. Their coaches, their student athletes, the overall product, no slouch, in my opinion, at all. And AAC Preview Week is to help you get to know them because they definitely deserve the spotlight. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break, and we'll continue AAC Preview Week throughout this week with the American Athletic Conference from the Cafe Kubal Studios. We're going to jump into our conversation with Trip Durham right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Woody Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Salsa Q's, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Woody Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Always happy to be here with you where sports truly meets that thing called life in Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. You can also find them at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and at their drive-through location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. Here on the broadcast with us this morning, no stranger to the broadcast and someone that I appreciate very much so from really a decade ago covering the ACC and getting in and getting acclimated with the conference. Trip Durham has been a part of this, the owner of 2D Consulting, and helps out with a lot of the ACC events, including Operation Basketball and the ACC Kickoff. And we are fresh off of the ACC Kickoff. You on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora are fresh off of the ACC Preview Week, hearing from all 14 head coaches and student-athlete representation from all 14 schools, as well as what the commissioner had to say. So with that being said, I bring in Mr. Durham here. Trip, from down in the great state of North Carolina. How are you doing today?
Dan, I am well. You're telling me that we've known each other 10 years now?
I want to say it's about, I mean, if you've been, I started coming down there, I want to say around 2013. So yeah.
I look forward to the anniversary gift. I don't know what it is you'll be getting me, but remember I wear a medium.
And remember I like gold. So
just touche.
So, listen, I'm Italian. I can always have another chain somewhere. So, with that being said, though, yeah, heading toward 10 years, and in that respect, the ACC Kickoff, I've been down there. You and I got to know each other as you are in the TV room and hosting that, and there as our master of ceremonies, if you wish, and helping to make sure everything runs smoothly with the coaches and student athletes. So we met through that experience almost 10 years ago, and it's exactly where I want to start, which is what you feel you get out of interacting with the coaches and the student athletes, and what that's like for you to have them come up on stage and to be the moderator and to not only have some time with them yourself, but to navigate the room as well and try to, make sure that the art of the dance goes smoothly as at ACC Kickoff.
July is always fun because it gives me that booster shot knowing that the academic year is right around the corner. It is truly the face of what is getting ready to be with college football within the Atlantic Coast Conference. The student athletes are great. Everyone brings a different personality, and the way the ACC has grown this event over the last couple of years, where it used to be a head coach and 2 student athletes taking the podium, it is now a head coach and 3 student athletes. So it allows a little bit more variety. Generally, you're finding you've got offensive player or two, and or a defensive player or two. Sometimes you'll have a specialist, someone on O, someone on D, but regardless, kids with different backgrounds, kids with different skill sets, kids with different accomplishments. Yes, the number of these kids that are all academic and all athletic are just, it's all inspiring, to be honest with you. Coaches are great. You never quite know what you're going to get on any particular day, any particular year. Are you catching a coach that's at the end of the car wash at the end of the day, or is the coach the first one out and they're fresh and ready to go? They're all great, though. Super insights. And sometimes you get a chuckle that you didn't expect, whether coming from the room of those asking the question or from the personalities up on the podium.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to go is, you get to meet so many different personalities, and being in that room with you and I experience it in real time together, and I get to see that. I get to see reactions. I mean, Servassier Dennis, who comes to Pittsburgh via Christian Brothers Academy, where I went to school, in Syracuse, New York, where I grew up. And so when Servassier went on the screen, and sat up there, he saw me, and we had like a back and forth, which was fun. And then with Dino, I don't know if I'll ever forget Dino's conversations with me up there when you were pointing this year, and you're like, oh, your first question is going to come right over. He's like, I'm locked on him. I got him. And so, it's just little things. Or like when we were coming out of the pandemic, when Coach said, I missed you, Dan. I missed you. It's been a long time. And I was thinking in my head, why'd you miss me? But then it hit me. That whole year we were doing everything via Zoom. So we were talking to each other, but we weren't in a room together. And going off of that point, knowing that we lost something in 2020 and we were trying to gain it back these last couple of years, how did that humble you, and how did that make you maybe appreciate those moments a little bit more, of being able to sit in a room, see people's faces, see their smiles, not see a mask, and to actually have the event? Because a couple of years ago was the first time where, conferences had to say to us, like the ACC, I'm sorry, but we can't host this event the way that we want to.
I tell people that throughout the course of the pandemic, and as I say this, people give me a wry eye until I explain my thought process. I've often believed that we have been sensory deprived through the pandemic. And what I mean by that is that, yes, our coffee is good. It tastes phenomenal in our house. The way that we have our offices, our home offices laid out are visually pleasing to the eye. But we're not in somebody else's office experiencing their coffee or feeling their carpet underneath our feet, or even the aromas of their own workplaces, hotels, whatever it may be. We haven't had as much of that. So in what I'm calling the wake of the pandemic, because I certainly don't think that we're through it, it is, to your point, nice to be able to walk the halls of another building, get on the plane for another trip. These are sensory elements that we as a species, we have to have, and we were deprived of those for 18 months or so. To have it back, I hope it is a bit humbling. I hope we are a bit more appreciative. My fear is that we get back into a routine and we aren't recognizing what it is we have. So to be back in Charlotte, ACC kickoff, is phenomenal.
Yeah, and having that experience, speaking here with the owner of 2D Consulting, who's very much connected with the Atlantic Coast Conference, Trip Durham, here with me this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. That ACC kickoff itself, what this year were your biggest takeaways in 2022, as we are amidst so many different things, and we'll get into them more specifically, but I don't want to load the question. When you stepped out, when you grabbed your briefcase and you walked out that final day, what was going through your mind from this specific ACC kickoff?
The student athletes, I want to make sure I position this delicately. The student athletes every year are really good, but it seems like this grouping of student athletes amongst the 14 schools, their personalities just really seem to stand out for me. My favorite And I can't remember what the setup was from a member of the media in the room that asked Sam Hartman, the quarterback at Wake Forest. I can't remember what the question was, but the response from this quarterback, who obviously has matured over the years, the response was, I have learned that the more smack I talk, the harder I get hit.
Yeah.
Now, that's personality, right? That's showing growth. That's showing a modicum of humor, humiliation. And to get insights like that from the kids was awesome. We had one student athlete I had seen online prior to, as I was doing my research, I'd seen that he was a really good cook. So I asked him what his number one go-to was. And he answered, there's one student athlete who I'll describe as a bit of a snake handler. He has this love for snakes. And so to be able to ask these kids non-related football questions and to be able to understand who they are as people off the field, to me, that's my takeaway this year.
Yeah, and I love those questions that you pose, because on my show, what we've called it for years is rapid fire. And it allows me the opportunity where I tell them, hey, and there's another piece to it, there's another element to it, is that they get to put me on the hot seat. And I don't know anybody in the media that's like, yeah, do that to me. I ask you the questions, because they're normally afraid because of the questions they ask, or what they maybe will do with those questions in an article. But I'm not afraid of it, because I tell the truth. So I say to the guys and to the ladies, hey, guess what? I'm going to ask you some questions that have nothing to do with sports, but then you're going to fire back at me. And I've gotten some intense questions. I've got the mom and dad are on a plane. There's one parachute. Who do you save? I've gotten... And that was an interesting one. I've gotten ex-girlfriend questions, dating questions. And so, but you know what? To their own, they give me the opportunity to do that. We've talked about cooking, music, movies, and whatnot. How do you go about when you're doing that? Because I know I have my method to my madness. When you're researching these coaches and these student athletes, how do you try to every year continue to progress yourself and more so invent yourself when you're looking things up and you're getting to know them? What's kind of the technique for you as far as wanting to go outside the box and to find unique pieces to these student athletes and to these coaches?
I appreciate the question, and I've never been asked that, but as I give you what's going to come immediately off the cuff, statistically speaking, if you have looked at a box score long enough, you're going to be able to find a question. It could be that you notice that the offense gave up X amount of sacks one year over the next. Something along those lines will spark a question or two. But also, you have to look at their bio on each school's website. And if the communications point person is crafty enough, they'll give you enough in the personal part of a student athlete's bio that will then trigger a thought, trigger an idea. I don't know that I'm ever evolving on what the questions are, but I do want to make sure every year that my gut, my instincts in the room at the moment are saying, yes, let's toggle down to this question because it's going to fit the room. It's going to fit for what I now see as the student athlete's personality.
Yeah.
While standing at the podium. There's some kids that as they stand at the podium, I can feel the room and look at the question and go, nah, it ain't going to be right for me to ask this one. But there's some in which it's a layup, and you'll actually see me at times. I won't recognize a member of the room to ask the next question because I feel like, okay, I can really put this one in. It'll really get a charge out of the kid and out of the room, and that's what we need at this moment.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that because I've seen that in so many years of us, doing this ACC kickoff and these different events, that you will do that sometimes, that instead of looking around the room in that moment, you'll say the next one's going to come from the podium and this is where you want to go with it. This year, I know you talked about some of the things that have stood out to you, but was there any great change in your opinion? We expect for Clemson to have a big room. We expect for NC State, now Wake Forest, to get a little more love and whatnot. It still seems strange for the Northeast schools, the BCs, the Pitts, and the Syracuses. But was there something about the room this year that you noticeably said, wow, that wasn't here 5 years ago or last season, and this is something that kind of, it stood out to you in a way that was different?
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to try to say it delicately. I think the student athletes that come to kickoff and who have a positive experience, they're going back and they're telling their teammates the stories of what happened to them during those 24 hours in Charlotte. And I think that acts as its own brand builder, so that the following year when the coaches pick kid 1, 2, and 3, they've already got an idea from their teammates who came before them what the expectation is, what the potential for fun is. And so if we're comparing 2022's kickoff to 2017, I think the student athletes are more relaxed, more comfortable, because they've got a better sense of what's coming. And that makes for a better kickoff environment, I believe.
Yeah, and I think that, this ACC kickoff went by really well. It's always interesting to me the first day, because I'm sitting here saying, okay, I got 2 days, I got 14 schools to work with here and to have questions for head coaches and student athletes, and then I have the commissioner. But then I hit that Thursday, because Wednesday, Thursday, I hit the Thursday, and it feels like it flies by and it's done. And I don't know if you feel that way, but it's like going in, you're like, wow, there's so much to get excited about. I always get, elevated for it because I love what I do and I do what I love. So I'm always in that room going, yes, I'm energized. I love to challenge myself. I love putting myself in that seat, sitting in the front row. Give it to me, 14 schools, let's go. And then on Thursday, I look at the sheet and I'm like, oh man, there's one school left, or there's a couple left. And I feel that. Do you get that sensation of, we have so much to go through, and then it's like, bang, it's done?
I think a lot of us who have experienced a multi-day event, whether we've been a participant, a volunteer, whatever, a fan, anything we've done in consecutive days, I think we have that enthusiasm going in. And if it's more than 2 days, I think human nature says, okay, on the second day, I enjoy being here, but gosh, I got a whole another 2 days. Then you get to the third day and you're like, you know what, I'm really ready to go. This has been great. I've lived the life. Let's move on. But when it's only a 2-day event, to your point, you prep so hard, so long, and then you don't get nearly as much, or it ends too soon. It's great regardless. It's 2 days of bang, bang, and let's go get it. But you're right, at the end, you're like, man, that's pretty quick. It's fun. It was great, but it was fast.
Yeah, that coming here from the owner of 2D Consulting, Trip Durham, speaking about ACC Kickoff, where he hosts the ACC Network connection in that TV room all throughout the 2 days with all the schools. And so the commissioner, obviously, before you step to the podium, the commissioner does that to start things off, to kick things off, pun completely intended for ACC Kickoff. Jim Phillips had a lot to talk about, had a lot to cover, and a lot of questions coming in to this for the very young commissioner of the ACC. He hasn't been in the seat long, and he's dealt with a pandemic, the transfer portal, NIL, conference realignment, only a few things, as well as the NCAA trying to figure out who they are, their transformation, the rewriting of the Constitution. And he stepped to the podium to speak on a lot of different things, and he has the right in his address to go where he wants to go. And then the room, me included, have the opportunity to ask him questions about where we would like him to go. How did you feel like Jim Phillips handled the very intense climate of college athletics?
I think college commissioners and athletic directors who are all relatively new to a chair, I think by and large, everybody is handling it really well. We have pundits, such as yourself. We have folks that are leaders that are living it hour by hour, minute to minute, that have to walk the line of, I know what it is like on a moment-by-moment basis. You, given your role in the sports world, you do not. So as athletic directors and conference commissioners, there's that balance of educating at the same time of making sure that you can't release but so much information, because there's so much information still to be learned internally within these athletic departments and conference offices. So for an experienced administrator like Commissioner Phillips, who has been to several stops, who will create empathy because he will be transparent in his own emotions, to stand up there and in the midst of what we're all in college athletics, I thought he did a great job.
And he has been tasked with a lot, as so many commissioners have. And the thing that I really love about Jim Phillips that people will get to know if you get to know him is that he's a faith forward guy, faith first, and him and I get to talk about that beyond sports, which I really appreciate. And I feel like, he wants to do things the right way. And Trip, I wanted to kind of go further with that in that respect, that he was standing at that podium talking about the enterprise. And this morning I shared Mike Aresco, the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, speaking with me about that. And I brought that up. I said, when I was at ACC kickoff, Jim Phillips brought up what he calls the enterprise and protecting the enterprise. What do you consider that to be? And because it really moved me, the words and, talking about the neighborhood and protecting the neighborhood and making sure that everybody in the neighborhood is safe, making sure that everybody in the neighborhood, is accounted for. I think what Jim is trying to do is protect the sanctity of the collegiate athletic model. And I feel like I could feel and I don't know if you could, but I could feel the energy in the room of people going, yeah. But, look what the Big Ten's doing. Look what the SEC's doing. Like, who cares about sanctity? It's about money. It's about this. It's about revenue. It's about TV. But Jim was standing firm on the fact of, we have to do this right. We have to be conscious. We have to be considerate. We have to be respectful. We have to understand who we were made to be and not necessarily just go into what we're becoming. And some people, came off of ACC kickoff saying he's fighting a losing battle. I commend him for standing up for what the collegiate model is. How did you take the room and how did you take the fact that it seemed like he was defending something that you shouldn't have to defend?
I think I appreciate the position of both the podium and the room. It's probably not an easy scenario to stand in a podium within the tenor and temperature of the country right now and create position statements. I don't think it's a great scenario for the folks in the room trying to find the right questions to get what they want to be the right answers. It's such a balancing act. I think in general, and this is a college athletics statement, I've been thinking about the word purpose a lot throughout the late spring and summer. And I'm going to put the word purpose to college athletics. Are the media members, are they in sight, or are they mindful of what the college athletics purpose is? And I'll actually turn that back around, and I wonder how many presidents and board of trustee members are thinking about what the purpose of college athletics is. That's not meant to be a damning statement or question.
Yeah.
I just think we're at a place where we have to think about purpose and define it for each of the, count JUCO and NAI, the 1,300 institutions out there that are playing college sports. What's the purpose?
Yeah. And you bring that up, and it's something that I sit here with, and I said it this morning going into the show. I said, some of my predictions are coming true. And as a broadcaster, it's like, okay, well, I feel like I'm understanding things, and it feels good when you're like, oh, I see this coming, and then you see it happen, and you're like, oh, okay. Building credibility, working with that. Now I'm getting it. Now I'm understanding it. Now I'm moving forward. And so I pride myself on trying to see these things ahead of time. But I told people this morning on the show, I'm not happy about some of this. It's like, yeah, I predicted that was going to happen, and I think it is, or it has, or it's on its way, but I don't think it's good for collegiate athletics. And I think that's the thing, is we may see where we're going, but is that good for everybody? And when I asked Jim Phillips about realignment and are you open to expansion, is that an answer? He said, if we're having these conversations, I'm not going to speak on them out of respect for the people involved. but he wanted to be purposeful with it. And you don't just do it for the sake of doing it. And I think that's a great piece of this. Before I let you go, I'd love to get your thoughts about this, because in the basis of everything, you and I are fans of sports. If we weren't, we wouldn't do what we do. We wouldn't work in this world. The grant of rights that's here until 2036, that has been brought up 1 billion times over, because it's a protective blanket for the ACC. And some people are saying, well, that blanket shouldn't be there so that we can keep moving teams around. And I think the ACC say, well, the blanket's there so we don't. What is your thought on that in the world that we live in today with the grant of rights, and we're seeing what's happening to the Big 12, the Pac-12, the Big 10, the SEC, and the American having to reinvent itself continuously, the Sun Belt expanding, that the ACC has this protective covering saying, well, if you want to leave between now and 2036, it's going to be really expensive and it's going to be really difficult. People are treating this like shame on the ACC, where I'm looking at it going, well, if the ACC didn't have it, what would life look like right now?
Well, what you're going to hate is my response, and it's going to sound like a dodge, but it's really not. I don't live the life every day.
Yeah.
I was not in the room or a part of the conversations in 2015 when this was coming about, when there was so much movement. So to ask an opinion, what do I think? It would be an uneducated opinion, because I don't have all of the facts. I do know that I was impressed by a then conference commissioner who moved out of his role to take on a job with the NCAA. When he was conference commissioner, he told me at dinner one night that I believe, this is him, I'm sort of quoting him, that I believe every time that there is a move within a conference for realignment, it starts a 5-year domino cycle. He made that comment to me in 13 or 14, and when dominoes started falling, I could see how that 5-year progression happened. So from an education standpoint, when he offered me that bit of insight, it allowed me to really take note to see how this alignment thing works. But to comment on grant of rights when I wasn't around, and gosh, that's 7 years ago when a lot of that was crafted, I'm not the right guy to ask.
Well, we are all living in this world, and I appreciate your response, because you're always somebody who is honest in your responses and clear about where you come from. The final point of knowing that NIL is here, the transfer portal is here, realignment is here, this constant flux that we're in, right? We know the coaches can sign contracts and leave the next day, but now student athletes can do that. Name, image, and likeness is a part of this. You work in this sports world, you work with some of these institutions, and there's a trickle-down effect that is consistently affecting. And conference realignment, Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, I've spoken with Division II programs that are looking at reclassification because of that. So there's so many things that happen on so many different levels that we can't help but notice them and try to navigate through them. In your world and in what you've known, it's changing. Now, does that necessarily change at our doorstep immediately? No. Does it necessarily change how you and I do our day-to-day? No. But you are talking to these coaches, you're talking to these teams, you're talking to these student athletes. How do you view our climate today, knowing that we're living in this world where you don't have to stay at the place you said you're going to go to? You can make money as a student athlete. You can act more like a coach now. Nobody has to be tied down somewhere forever. And conferences, a decade after we thought this whole thing was going crazy, arguably now is getting even more intense. This does cause anybody to look at it and have at least a thought on it. So how do you look at our college world right now?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I'll answer it with portal and NIL. First, with the portal, I've maintained for the last couple of years that when you walk into an arena and look up into the rafters, the jerseys that you see hanging in appreciation, they're going to be the same jerseys you see 5 years from now with none being added, that you'll see in 10 years from now with none being added, because student athletes aren't going to stay in one place long enough to receive that type of adulation. And I think that's a bit sad, disappointing, but one can make the argument that's been going on for years with players leaving to go early for professional ranks. Yeah. The second is NIL. I was sitting with a bunch of colleagues last Sunday night at dinner. These are marketing colleagues. And one was making mention of, we're going to call it Popcorn State football day, in which it's an open practice. You can come on out to the stadium at Popcorn State. You can get player autographs afterwards, the whole bit.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point now to where with NIL and student athletes having their own deals, and a lot of them are autograph based, that players are going to opt out of taking part of football day at Popcorn State because their deal with somebody else is not going to allow them to sign autographs at their school's open house free public events. And that's I think that's a casualty that I hadn't quite considered. But when you think about the 7 or 8 year old wanting to come be part of Popcorn State's autograph session, and if this 7 or 8 year old has been watching this one student athlete and is hoping to be able to get that student athlete's autograph when going to the open house, and this could be post game volleyball, this could be any sport, and not to have that player present, and the disappointment that could fall upon that child and then ultimately into the family.
Yeah.
I think that's a tough road to hoe. We're already fighting from a marketing standpoint, understanding who our target demographic is these days, and to have one more element contribute to us not knowing how it is we're marketing and what our brand is, that's tough.
Yeah, and you bring up great points, and I think there's a lot more as I said in its institution, there's a lot more questions than answers, and there's still a lot more questions than answers. There's probably more questions than the more questions that initially were there than the answers that were coming in, and I would love for some answers to start flowing in, as I just feel like it's an endless world of questions. But speaking of questions, you had a bunch, I had a bunch, we had a good time. And always appreciate it. I do want to let you know I got to Zaxby's, so I didn't want you to worry about me. I did make it there.
Oh, good. Now, and you and I had this conversation last year, but I still haven't seen the check from the invoice from last year. Do you want me just to add it to this session today? How do you want me to work that?
Are you talking about you paying me through 2D Consulting?
No.
Okay.
Once again, you misheard the question. No, but anytime, Dan, I always enjoy the opportunity, so please let me know where I can be of help.
No, I appreciate it as always, and thank you for all the work that you've done, the professionalism, and the way that you go about everything has really meant a lot. So I appreciate it, and I always look forward to talking with you.
Be well.
Take care.
See you later.
See ya. That coming from Trip Durham here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, where sports meets that thing called life. Always appreciate having Trip on the broadcast here, and thank him so much. And yeah, the joking of him being on the show. So where am I sending his NIL money? I get it. I feel it. I understand it. I want to know where my NIL money is. So definitely thank Trip Durham for being a part of the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We're going to take our final step aside of the broadcast. Make sure that you are with us through the entire fast break, because if you don't know, in a couple weeks, we're going to be down in Florida. Actually, 2 weeks from today, believe it or not, we're going to be down in the great state of Florida to do a very, very amazing opportunity that I had last year from Hooters of iDrive in Orlando. We get to do that again this year, and I cannot wait for ushering in the college and professional football season simultaneously from Hooters iDrive in Orlando. So you'll hear from them right inside of this fast break, as well as our great partners in Central and Upstate New York. And we'll wrap up today's show right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. As always, I appreciate your time. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Hey everyone, it's Sydney from iDrive in Orlando. We can't wait to welcome Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on site at 8801 International Drive in Orlando. Broadcasting live Monday, August 22nd through Friday, August 26th during our lunch each day from noon to 2 p.m. Come see us girls, hear from Dan and his special guests, and preview the college and NFL seasons from the greatest seat for all sporting events. Hooters iDrive in Orlando.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Very excited. 2 weeks from today, we will be down previewing the college and professional football season simultaneously with special guests the entire week, Monday, August 22nd to Friday, August 26th. All 5 days of Wake Up Call are going to be brought to you on site, on location, exclusively at Hooters iDrive of Orlando, right by SeaWorld, as well as Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, and of course, everything on iDrive. So you don't want to miss out the opportunity to come and see us at Hooters iDrive in Orlando. If you're down in Orlando, Florida, come see us. If you've listened to the show and used to listen to me on ESPN 1080, The Team down in Orlando, come see us, come say hello, come say what's up. We're going to be there from noon to 2. So you know the wake-up call is every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're shifting our 2-hour time slot from noon to 2 that week because we're going to be doing the entire lunch time for Hooters iDrive Orlando. So the entire time that you're on lunch from 12 to 2, that entire window for lunchtime, we're going to be at Hooters. We want to see you. Come out and see the girls. Come see our guests. Come see me. Come say hello. And come usher in the college and professional football season with us. Very much excited for it and looking forward to it as always. A lot of great stuff coming up from Hooters iDrive in Orlando. So very much appreciate you being with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we are here on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCall DT. You're also hanging out with us where sports meets life on WakeUpCallDT.com and on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. Once the shows go live, you can jump into the archives, take a look for them on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, TuneIn, Podvine, Spotify, YouTube, and Stitcher. There are more places, but here's a few. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word Wake Up Call DT, and you'll find me on any one of these avenues, and we would love for you to bookmark us, save us, follow us on any one of these wonderful places to get podcasts. So make sure you check us out there by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word Wake Up Call DT. A big thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Witty Wicks, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Victory Sports Medicine, Orthopedics, and Mother's Cupboard. And of course, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner exclusively of your up every single week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We have an exclusive coming up for you this Wednesday, which I'm ecstatic about. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time is Dolphin Time. And inside of Dolphin Time, you're going to have the opportunity to, on every first and third Wednesday, hear AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, with specific topics every single month. And every second and fourth Wednesday, including this coming week, you're going to hear Dolphin Dive with conversations with student athletes, coaches, administration, as well as alumni and future Dolphins. Our exclusive Dolphin Dive coming up for you this week is the first conversation with the interim women's soccer head coach, Yaro Zavislan, who will be joining us this Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for our special exclusive sit-down conversation with Yaro after taking the job as interim women's soccer head coach at Lemoyne College. And right after that, they release their schedule, which is up on our social media, so make sure that you check that out. The Dolphins here with us, you can find them on wakeupcalldt.com in their own page, the Lemoyne tab, very simple. You go to wakeupcalldt.com, right on the top, you'll see our tabs. Lemoyne's right there. Click on it, bookmark it, love it, save it, and it will update throughout the year to have our library of specials. You can also subscribe to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt for our specials with Lemoyne and to hear it live. And of course, for more information on your Dolphins, go to LemoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner for your Marywood University Pacers. It is Pacer Pride all throughout the year and loving my Pacers. I am a proud Pacer, and so Pacer Pride is easy for me because I've always had it. The Marywood University Pacers join me on Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time for an all-new edition of Pacer Pride. Pacer Pride bringing you my specials with coaches, student athletes, as well as the administration. You can hear from your Pacers on Fridays, and of course you can find your Pacers all the time by going to and bookmarking our page on wakeupcalldt.com. All you have to do is click on Marywood and bookmark that, save that. You can also find them by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt to find your Pacers. And of course, you definitely can go to marywoodpacers.com for more information. As always, check out your Pacers. Don't miss a moment with these fantastic stories from one of the greatest institutions that used to be a best-kept secret, but I'm throwing that spotlight on it. We're making it big, and we're focusing all the time, every week, all throughout the year. The Marywood Pacers deserve it. Marywood University deserves it, and you should know about them. They're 2 hours south of Syracuse, almost in a direct straight line. You get on 81 and you get off 81, and you're right there a couple minutes away. Marywood University, definitely worth a look. Go to marywoodpacers.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are also exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. Happy to bring you the Bobcat Buzz every single month. The Bobcat Buzz, you know when it's coming by being with us on our social media as we feature student athletes, administration, and coaches from the Bobcats. We've made history having exclusive first interview with Clay Gagan-Sherman, becoming the men's basketball head coach. We had the exclusive exit conversation with Danny Frisina, leaving the team that he created in men's basketball and doing a tremendous job, just moving to the next part of his career after bringing them to the national stage in the national tournament. Love everything that Danny's done to build this program, and we'll always thank him for the work he's put forward. So got to be there with Danny at PB&J's Lunchbox in Liverpool. Got to be with Clay Gagan-Sherman at Mother's Cupboard in Syracuse. Got to be on campus for our roundtable discussion with a bunch of representatives there. Got to do a special on-site on location with Clay at Cafe Kubal on 3 the one that we did on West 324 West Water Street, and then we had the Creek Walk Commons, and then we had Alex Grigorita at the 401 South Salina Street, the women's soccer head coach. We had him there at Cafe Kubal in Syracuse at 401 South Salina Street, where you can now get coffee, and they have a bar opportunity with the beer on tap as well as food, and you could do that weekly at Cafe Kubal. So definitely go and check that out. A lot of great stuff happening at Cafe Kubal, including Alex Grigorita, who's a national champion, and the women's soccer head coach and assistant AD. We've been on campus getting to know the AD, multi-time national champion and men's soccer head coach Nick Dmitrievsky. And of course, we've been previewing the institution of the baseball program with Sean Peak. A lot of awesome stuff coming on. And we had the exclusive announcement and first conversation with Tay Baker when he took the women's basketball head coaching job. So a lot of great stuff with the Bobcats. A lot of great things coming up. We just did signing day with them. Darren Joyner exclusive, Makai Reed exclusive. All of that you can find on our youtube.com/wakeupcalldt channel. And of course, you can subscribe to us as well on wakeupcalldt.com and bookmark the BSCSYR tab, where all of this Bobcat Buzz specials will be added there for you. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And for those of you looking to go back to school, and if you have some eligibility as well, definitely check out Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, right on James Street in Syracuse, New York. With that being stated, I want to thank all of my fantastic guests today. I want to thank Commissioner inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. I would love to thank Mike Aresco, a mainstay on the show, Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference. I would also like to thank our 4 schools that started off the AAC preview week. Navy, and a big thanks to head coach Ken Niumatalolo, safety John Marshall, and kicker Bijan Nichols. I would like to thank East Carolina, ECU, and their head coach Mike Houston. I would like to thank Tulane's head coach Willie Fritz, as well as quarterback Michael Pratt and linebacker Nick Anderson for joining the show. A special thanks to Tulsa and their head coach Philip Montgomery, as well as their quarterback Davis Brin and linebacker Justin Wright. And a big-time thanks as well to the owner of 2D Consulting, who I've gotten to know in my coverage of the Atlantic Coast Conference, who he is very close to, Mr. Trip Durham, for joining the broadcast live here with me today. With all of that being said, I hope you have a fantastic day. The AAC preview week has just begun. 2 weeks from now, we'll be down at Hooters previewing all of college and professional football with some fantastic guests by the grace of God. So very much looking forward to that. Can't wait for the rest of this week and all that is to come here in August on Wake Up Call and beyond. Thank you for being a part of the show. God bless each and every single one of you. I appreciate you more than I can ever say. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For now, and as always,